Welcome to On Point. I'm Andy Martins. We are live on TV and Facebook. On this edition, we're going to be talking about real estate. A healthy community has healthy real estate. Kristen Trembinski, the broker of record, will tell us all about it. We'll be back with her right after these messages.
Here, your education is everything, supporting your true sense of purpose. Here, you'll learn from professors who will understand you, who will challenge you, and offer you support on your journey. Here, you'll study programs built on real values: business, technology, science, arts and social sciences, always geared to make a positive difference. Here, you'll have a chance to assist in faculty research, leaving your mark wherever you go. Here, you'll focus on what matters to you and impact the world around you. Algoma University. Come take a closer look.
Welcome back to On Point. I'm Andy Martins. A reminder, we're live on TV and on Facebook. And as I mentioned in the opening, I'm feeling ecstatic today. Welcome one of the most amazing ladies in Sault Ste. Marie, the broker of record on with Exit Realty, Kristen Trembinski. Kristen, welcome back to On Point.
Thank you, Andy. Thanks so much for having me.
It's a pleasure, Kristen. Let's talk about real estate, because if the real estate isn't right in a community will not be healthy. How about the conditions in Sault Ste. market conditions in this community as we sit in September of 2019?
That's a question that we get asked all the time, Andy, and to be completely honest, right now the market is strong, it's stable, it's healthy, everything is looking up for the fall market. Our fall market typically starts in and around the beginning to mid-August, but really ramps up at the beginning through to the end of September and then through October as well. So things are looking really strong right now.
Can you do a quick overview of the other seasons, the winter, fall, spring, the winter, spring and summer, how those markets compare to the fall market?
So people always ask, about the different markets, and typically we say that the spring market and the fall market are our strongest. But you have to look at reasons why buyers buy and why sellers sell, and essentially there's always reasons to buy and sell. So over the last number of years in Sault Ste. Marie, our market has, like I said, stayed really stable. So through our winter months, we've had like the busiest Decembers and Januaries that we've had in a very long time over the last number of years. And I'm expecting that through this winter, we're going to experience the same. January, February are months where it does tend to slow down a little bit, but you've always got people who are relocating and having to move. You've got almost more urgency during those winter months than you do during the spring and fall market. So So things do tend to still turn over, and absolutely, I think that the market's healthy throughout.
Yeah, you hit it right on the nail. Not very many people are going to list or want to move in January, but if you have to do the relocation, you're going to have to, and that's probably what drives the winter market more than anything.
Absolutely, yeah. There's relocations. You know, in this business, we deal with all kinds of reasons why people are selling and buying. So, yeah.
Right. How is our market driving the out-of-town buyers? Because our market is at a good level, are we still getting the out-of-town traffic to this market than we have in the past?
Absolutely. What we're finding is that a lot of people, especially kind of my age, like mid-30s through to mid-40s, they've moved away, they've established themselves elsewhere, they've made some money, and they're realizing that they want to come home and be closer to family. So we are seeing a lot of relocations for those reasons, and just affordability overall, being in a bigger market. You get so much more here in Sault Ste. Marie than you do in so many other marketplaces, and it's a beautiful place to live. So we do see a lot of relocations for those reasons. And then we're seeing right now a lot of investment. So we've been promoting, our brokerage has really been promoting investment properties to Southern Ontario and various other markets. And we are finding that whether it be through Facebook groups or through just the marketing that we're doing, that we're getting a ton of people contacting us wanting to invest in duplexes, triplexes, just rental properties overall, and commercial properties as well.
I guess investing is an education too. People think, oh, it's easy money, but they need to be educated into the challenges of buying investment property.
Absolutely, and you know, if you're an investor from out of town, property management tends to be one of the big question marks as well, which we do have those services here in Sault Ste. Marie too.
Yes, if you look at most of the investment in the big properties, the malls, and a large part of those are from Southern Ontario. Yeah. The buyer's market, seller's market, people talk about these two terms, and for a lot of people it's confusing. There's a lot to it. Can you explain the differences and what they mean? Yeah,
so in really simple terms, you can think of it as though a buyer's market is beneficial to the buyer. So when you're looking at it in terms of supply and demand, when it's a buyer's market, it typically means that the inventory is high. So buyers have a lot to choose from. And they typically end up getting the property that they purchase for a little bit less or a better value than they would if it was a seller's market. So on the other hand, a seller's market benefits the seller. So that typically means that the inventory is lower. And when the inventory is lower, it drives prices up, obviously. And that's where we find ourselves in more competing offer type situations. You know, that's where there's a lot of interest and not a lot of inventory.
A lot of people, I guess, ultimately want to buy low and sell high, but it always doesn't end up that way.
Not always, for sure. And there's lots of influences that come into play in the overall market, and you know, factors that influence whether it's a buyer's or a seller's market. And some of those things include interest rates, like the overall economy, development, the seasons. You know, in the winter time, it does tend to be more of a buyer's market because there's, you know, there's typically the listing periods in the winter tend to be a little bit longer. So, are we doing okay as a community for buyers? Number of houses available for sale in Sault Ste. Marie. Is it holding its own right now? Definitely, yeah. The inventory is at a stable rate. So it's I wouldn't say that the inventory right now is really high, but it's also not really low. So we are, for that reason, experiencing in Sault Ste. Marie. It's a little bit different because we can experience a buyer's market and a seller's market almost at the same time. So, for example, price ranges up to $300,000. If the factors are in line, price, location, condition, and you're priced under $300,000, Right now, it's very much a seller's market. So that means that there's lots of buyers out there that are looking in that range, and anything that sort of meets those 3 criteria properly, the houses are selling quickly. Over 300,000, it tends to be more of a buyer's market. So there's just fewer buyers for those upper price ranges. They still are around, and definitely, again, if the price, location, and condition all line up properly, houses are selling at a healthy rate. It's just that the listing periods are a little bit longer.
And because the things change on prices over 300,000, unfortunately, the buyers have more clout there, and the sellers may have to adjust their price.
Exactly. Yeah.
So in September, what influences the buyers or sellers market?
Well, like I said, definitely seasons play a factor, just like overall market fluctuations. I mean, the market fluctuates. It's just a part of it's just a part of our business, right? There's always ups and downs, supply and demand,
Right.
Inventory. Yeah, all those factors come into play.
I guess that's a challenge for you and your team, that when there's a buyer or a seller, they don't really know what the market is all about. They just want to either buy their property or sell their property. So it's an education process that you have to deliver for the clientele that you have.
Absolutely. As realtors, that's a huge part of our job, is educating the clients, because again, one of the big questions that we get is when's the best time to list my house? And
Right.
the most obvious answer would be spring. But in the spring, everybody waits to list their house. So what happens in the springtime is that there's a huge influx of inventory, and it doesn't necessarily mean that there's a huge influx of buyers. So that typically will shift the market to more of a buyer's market, because the inventory is higher, there's more to choose from. So the spring isn't necessarily the best time to list. Maybe you should look at the fact that in the wintertime your property may not look as nice, but the inventory is lower, you have less to compete with. So listing in and around like mid to late February is possibly a good idea if you have a house that's in a price range that's going to be competitive. So
Right. I was just going to mention that the sellers know one thing: they want to get the highest price, and when you tell them what the listing price should be, they probably say, "Oh, come on, Kristen, we can get a little bit higher than that." You probably get that all the time.
we get that all the time, and pricing is a huge part of the services that we offer as realtors. So our
Right.
job, again, is to educate, to pull historical data, to pull listings that are currently on the market, and come up with that appropriate price to get your house sold.
Wonderful. Kristen, stay right there. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back with Kristen Trembinski, the broker of record of Exit Realty, right after these messages.
Thanks, Andy.
This is On TV.
Maitland Ford is a family-owned dealership that's been around with the Ford franchise since 1984.
What I love about my Ford, I love the technology. I love the way it rides, I love the way the seats hug me, and I love the control I have right at the steering wheel.
When they say that it's a true family atmosphere, it is 100%. They've been in business for close to 50 years.
Employee pricing is back. That means you pay what we pay for a Ford SUV, F-150, Ranger, or Mustang.
You pay
What we pay.
Absolutely.
Who's home? Dad's home. And what's he got? Mouth-watering Little Caesars. Download Fido. Dinner? Consider it served. Little Caesars Ultimate Supreme Box Set. A 5-topping deep dish pizza with delicious Italian cheese bread. And I got it for $12. It's Little Caesars. and a whole lot of tasty. Hot and ready.
Welcome back to ONNPoint. I'm Andy Martins. We are live on TV and Facebook Live as well. And back with my guest, Kristen Trembinski, the broker of record of Exit Realty. We're talking real estate, because if the real estate isn't right, then the community's not healthy. Kristen, in this month, in September of 2019, we mentioned that the buyers and sellers market, it's both in this community. Could you elaborate a little bit on that a little bit more?
So right now we seem to have a good amount, like a healthy inventory of buyers that are looking for up to in and around 300,000. So if you have a home that's in a nice neighborhood, it's priced properly, and if you've staged it properly and it's in good condition, you've done updates over the years, if those three things line up and you're under 300,000 list price, we do have right now, it seems to be a good inventory of buyers. So in that case, it is very much a seller's market under that price point. You go up over 300,000 and we're experiencing more of a buyer's market. So essentially there's a good inventory of homes over that price point on the market. They may have been sitting for your typical listing period of in and around 2 to 3 months. And so for that reason, the buyers, they tend to take their time. They look at everything that's on the market. They don't make quick decisions, whereas buyers under the other price point, under 300, tend to act a little bit quicker. Some of them are in like a first-time home buyer stage of the process, so they don't have a house to sell. And so that's why we say, it's kind of funny, but it's a mix of a buyer's and a seller's market, depending on the price range. Now, under 300,000, in that regard, the fact that it's a seller's market, we are actually seeing competing offer situations a lot in the market right now.
Well, exactly. The sellers with over 300,000 might be getting a little anxious about the price, but like you and I talked before the broadcast, that on my street there was one of your listings, and it does sell. You just have to be patient.
You have to be patient, and that's the biggest thing, is that you could have a house in a price range of 450,000 and you might get competing offers on it. It depends on the buyers that are out there at the time, but you have to understand that there's less buyers in the upper price ranges. It's just a fact. So and those buyers often have a house to sell. So what we start to experience are chains of someone needing to sell before they buy, and then again the buyer of that house has to sell. So it's like a domino effect. And so
And we say no profession is lucky. You have to be very skillful in real estate, but sometimes you have the right buyer coming along at the right time.
Absolutely. Sometimes it's just a matter of timing. And again, when we're asked what time of year is a good time to list, you may list in the middle of winter and have a perfect buyer that's relocating to Sault Ste. Marie looking for something exactly what you're trying to sell. So it's hard to say, but absolutely, like I said, the market right now, it's stable across price ranges. It's just like you said, in the upper price ranges, sellers do need to be a little bit more patient. You need to monitor the listing,
Right.
And make price adjustments as you go if that's necessary.
I'm just wondering, thought crossed my mind, would this be an accurate statement that some of the buyers of the over 300,000 could be coming from out of town southern Ontario? It would be easier for them to get into that price level.
Absolutely. Like I said earlier, you get so much more value for what you're purchasing. You know, you could be selling a house down south, you know, for whatever, $1 million,
Right.
and you could move to Sault Ste. Marie and buy that same house for under 500,000. So
Right,
yeah, you're benefiting so much from the difference in the marketplaces. For that reason, we do get a lot of out-of-town people,
Right.
and we get a lot of out-of-towners that are buying cottage properties, you know, waterfront properties, and like I said, a lot of investors right now.
Oh, it's a lot
Which
easier.
is awesome for Sault Ste. Marie, right?
Exactly. It's a lot easier for them to buy it here than at Muskoka's. I mean,
Absolutely. And we have some prime, like beautiful, beautiful waterfront.
great. Do competing offers, you mentioned that briefly, does this happen a lot in our market right now?
We are experiencing it quite a bit right now, mostly under $300,000 price range, but if really, I've never seen, since being in the business, how important it is to have your house properly, like prepared to list. So it's all the little things that make such a difference. It doesn't have to be staged perfectly, but it needs to be clean. You know, it needs to be free of any kind of odor, whether that be smoke or pet or anything that's going to turn people off when they first walk into the house. You need to do paint touch-ups, like small things. For example, you know, you walk up to a house and the front door has, you know, paint peeling off of it. That's the first impression that you have when you walk up to a house. So for what it takes to repaint your front door, you know, just small things that aren't going to cost you a lot, but they make a huge difference when initially walking into a house. So what we're finding right now is if you have a house that's nicely ready, you know, to be put on the market, it's priced appropriately and fairly, and it's in a nice location.
Right.
We're seeing competing offers quite a bit right now.
Do you find that sometimes people say, okay, I'm going to upgrade, and they do the wrong things, and then they say, well, Kristen, how come I didn't get the value for what I spent? Does that happen a lot?
It happens a lot, and for that reason, it's a good idea to have a realtor come in and actually assess your home prior to making any big decisions like that. Because we see people ripping flooring out and redoing bathrooms and doing like major projects that they're hoping to get dollar for dollar value back that they may not. So I mean, it depends on the house, it depends on the circumstances, but it's a good idea if you're thinking of selling, you know, anytime into the near or far future, that it's a good idea to get a real estate professional in to just take a look at what you've got happening and to give you the best advice on, if you're going to be selling anyway and you're not going to be enjoying these updates, what am I going to get the most value out of?
Exactly. And to give you a quick example, I think I'm right on this. If somebody expects to get 5,000 or 10,000 more because they do redo their roof, that's really not an item that you can get the value increased in when you list your house.
So there's certain things that speed up the saleability, like they increase the saleability of a house. So a roof is one of those things.
Right.
A roof is a maintenance item. So the fact that you have a brand new roof on your house isn't going to entice someone to pay more for the house. But what it is going to do is it's going to either make or break their decision to possibly move forward, because oftentimes people budget in their down payment and their closing costs, which can be a significant amount of money. But then you move into the house and people don't necessarily have that additional $10,000 sitting in the bank to redo the shingles, especially when it's something that's not very exciting to, you know, it's like windows, changing windows. You change windows or a roof, they cost a lot of money, but they're not very exciting things to, you don't see, it's not like redoing a kitchen where you can enjoy it, I guess I could say.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, people want to people will take that off the, the selling when they come in to buy the house. You're seeing the roof is an important piece, but indirectly, because you may lose the value that $10,000 off your price.
100%. Same thing with a furnace. Maintenance, like regular maintenance items on a house.
Right.
Yeah.
Heating and cooling. Heating is a problem. A lot of houses have been installed heating. I know mine was built 30 years ago. Are you finding more and more people are anxious about this because it affects the time that they can sell their house? It lengthens it.
So today's buyers, the majority prefer gas forced air heat,
right,
or gas hot water heat. If there's gas hot water heat, they are wishing that they could have air conditioning, and in order to put air conditioning in, you need to put the wall units as opposed to forced air. So gas seems to be a priority for buyers right now, but unfortunately the majority of the homes built in Sault Ste. Marie, many of them were built in the 80s. So there was a lot of electric heat at that time installed, and the barriers are there, but there's ways around it. I mean, you can install gas prior to listing, you can put a heat pump in. I mean, there's various things, but you just have to factor in that people will consider that.
Right. And here's, before we go, here's a quick heating and cooling pump for me was more effective than just a Rinnai ductless heating unit. So everybody's going to have to make up their decision at one point or another. Kristen, the show's over. It's such a wonderful having you on again, and the time goes so fast.
It does.
Thank you so
Andy.
much for coming in.
Thank you.
And I'll be back to wrap up the show right after these messages.
In your home, lighting is just as important as style.
With PowerView Motorization from Hunter Douglas, you can schedule your shades to light up the room. Create privacy, or both, automatically. No hands required.
So your shades will always be in the right place at the right time in style. And it's only from Hunter Douglas.
Recently, the Government of Ontario established a $100 million affordability fund to help Ontarians who don't qualify for low-income conservation programs ease the burden of their electricity bill. Whether you rent or own your home, as long as you pay your electric bill, you could qualify. There are 3 levels of support available. The first is a home energy kit with upgrades like smart power bars and LED light bulbs. The second includes Energy Star appliances that help keep things cool during the hot summer months. The third is for electrically heated homes so that your power bills don't break the bank during those long Canadian winters. Plus, all upgrades, including installation, are completely free of charge. Visit affordabilityfund.org or call 1-855-494-FUND to find out if you qualify.
Welcome to the Machine Shop, our historic venue and gathering place for friends and family. Built in 1899 on the site of a Northwest Company trading post. Today we are a go-to venue hosting many expos, concerts, weddings, and more. While you're here, choose one of our dining experiences. Enjoy a quiet dinner at the Mill Steakhouse and Wine Bar, watch a game and try wood fire oven pizza and local draft at the Boiler Room, or treat yourself every day to gelato and local coffee at the Gelato Mill. For more information on the Machine Shop, visit machineshopinc.ca.
Welcome back to ONNPoint. This edition, of course, has been live on OnTV and Facebook. And coming up on the next edition of ONNPoint, Andrea Reef, the Positive Sue founder. I'd call her the Positive Princess. Had a big piece to play in the positive attitude of this community, and we'll talk to her about that tomorrow. And also, MPP Mike Mantha is set to return to ONNPoint. That all happens next time. And I'm Andy Martins. Thank you for watching. Have a great day. We'll see you next time on ONNPoint.